One of the funniest things that Hollywood has tried to do over the past couple of weeks is try and gaslight you into thinking Avatar is this huge cultural phenomenon. James Cameron is a genius. These are the this movie's going to make $1 billion, guys. And I'm just kind of sitting here thinking that like, man, $1 billion. Wow. GTA 5 made more than that. Pokemon Go makes more than that. Like, why the hell should I give a shit about a movie grossing $1 billion? The fucking Barbie movie did $1 billion. So, like, when we're talking about, like, like box office results, I don't care. Okay. And honestly, I'm at the point where I never want to hear about, like, how much money something makes ever because it's never actually true, and it's always meant to kind of mislead you, like this idea that like, well, everyone's going to see it, so that makes it good. And Avatar is a really interesting situation in which this is a film that nobody is going to see, that nobody cares about. Like, we're at the point now in this franchise where people don't even know the names of the main characters. Okay, I saw people trying to gaslight you into thinking, oh man, this one chick, oh, she made the movie, and I'm just like, who is that? Why should I care? What did she do? And the answer is nothing, Like, James Cameron created an absolute flop with the Avatar brand. It doesn't matter how much money it makes. It doesn't matter how much the industry tries to shill it. The reality is Hollywood is dying, and it is entirely because of films like Avatar. Something that doesn't have a script, something that exists only for to display visual effects, something that is only hyped up because of the brand name, like James Cameron's Avatar. Like, did you like Terminators 2? Then you're gonna love this. Like, again, that's just the reality of it. Is that Avatar in a way is the AAA video game of Hollywood, where they put all this time into it, all this money into it, and what do you get? You get a third entry that's exactly the same as the second, which in turn was not as jaw-dropping as the first because, oh, the graphics aren't new and impressive anymore. That's the situation we're in, That's what we're looking at. That's the reality of the situation. There was no reason for this series of films to exist. They did nothing new. They did nothing original. They did nothing but promote a bunch of like outdated boomer liberal opinions. Like, oh, white people bad, natives good. It's just pure propaganda in that sense, and it's very, very embarrassing to see the industry try and bend over backwards to pretend this series has any kind of cultural impact. To pretend this thing has any relevancy at all. Because the simple fact of the matter is, people are only going to it to look at the visuals, and then they immediately forget about it afterwards. People are going to it to make YouTube videos about it, acknowledge how this series has no cultural relevancy, and then they just go ahead and forget about it. This is a very interesting phenomenon where it very clearly demonstrates the dissonance between, like, films that people actually look back on fondly and love, stuff like, from, The Princess Bride is a really good example. Yeah, The Princess Bride is a great example, actually, because The Princess Bride initially failed in its theatrical run because of the naming, because of, like, people not knowing what it is. And then on video, when it became more well known as like a kind of more fantasy swashbuckling kind of thing with a good sense of humor, like, it became super popular, and now it's like, 40 years onward, it's considered this all-time classic for millennials and even younger people. It's endured and stayed very, very relevant. Like, when you compare that to like Avatar, something that nobody talks about, nobody cares about, nobody remembers, the difference is striking. The difference is palpable, and it really does need to be acknowledged more. Like, does a movie allegedly having high box office results justify it being hyped up this much? And the simple answer is no. Like, the simple fact of the matter is, I never want to hear about Avatar. I don't want to think about Avatar. There are no situations that I would ever go to see an Avatar movie. And on top of all that, I'm also willing to disavow James Cameron and his entire filmography because of how much I hate these movies from a fundamental standpoint. Like, James Cameron sucks his politics are bullshit, and he is an asshole that just excrements all over Hollywood, and we're supposed to take him seriously because, well, like he made Terminator 2. Yeah, Terminator 2 was also bad. It was also woke, and getting to that point where you can acknowledge that and admit that to yourselves is something that we really do need to reach. Like, a lot of your favorite films from the 2000s and 90s were indeed built from the ground up to push these insane ideologies that did not become prevalent until the mid 2010s. Like, woke ideology became mainstream through these kinds of Hollywood productions, and it is essential that we kind of disavow the directors, the actors, like everybody involved. Like, I never want to see an actor on TV talking about politics ever. Like, at this point, it should just be straight up banned. Like, I don't care what, like, Mandy Patinkin from The Princess Bride has to say about Trump. Like, it's like, I don't care. Like, these movies, they seem like they're constructed in a way to make, like, James Cameron look way smarter than he actually is. That's something I noticed when he was talking about that submarine implosion a while back. He was on TV, like, giving his opinion on it, and I'm just kind of like, bro, you're a movie director. Like, I don't care if you made Abyss. I don't care if you scuba dive for fun. I don't care if you're, like, an enthusiast. Like, I would want an actual like, expert in the field, not a fucking director. Directors are dumb motherfuckers, and we have to get to that point where we acknowledge it. If you were smart, you would be doing in a more productive career field, not gaslighting people into thinking that, like, blue alien cat people are somehow, like, these engaging protagonists, that we should side with them over the righteous human colonists. It's just dumb. Like, it's just completely insane to me how much, like, certain individuals put this man-child on a pedestal, and how much they try and make this guy hype this guy up, who is I believe only produced Avatar films in this millennium, hyping this guy up as, like, some all-time great in the industry when he hasn't done shit. The cope when after Titanic came out, the idea that, like, well, he's producing Avatar, but he's using the 15-year span to create the universe and to create the language. Like, the shit that's in the movie, I could crank out in, like, 15 minutes. Like, nonstop, like, complete and utter bullshit. Avatar comes off like it was written by a little child. It is imperative we do start, like, acknowledging this, that, like, it really took this guy 3 movies, like, 15 years to tell one of the most basic bitch, like, white people bad narratives in Hollywood history. Like, that's really where we're going with this. That's really what the narrative is. That's really what we're supposed to take away from James Cameron's Avatar, is that, like, white people bad, America bad, humans bad, blue cat alien people good. Like, they're so good, you should put yourself in a body in like a transhumanist, like, avatar and, like, impregnate one. It's like become the blue alien cat people. Like, no, Cameron, no, Mr. Cameron. I like being a white guy. I'm proud to be an American. So I don't take any of your nonsense propaganda seriously, and I don't think anybody under the age of, like, 30 does either, because we are in that, like, mass awakening cycle where, like, all the propaganda and tricks from the post World War II period, like, the 60s and, like, the long march through the institutions, commies taking over, like, it's all falling apart. We're at the point now where it's all completely collapsed. Feminism has failed, race mixing has failed, Israel has failed. The reality is, like, you had control of absolutely everything for, like, 60 years, and it just completely collapsed. you lost. You know, it doesn't matter how much money Avatar makes. It doesn't matter like how popular your movies are. Like you were never able to destroy white people. And you never will destroy white people. Like you're a failure. You dedicated your entire life to do one simple thing, convince everyone that white people are bad, and it just completely failed. Like I can't imagine having the deck stacked so far in your favor to push that specific thing and just having it like completely fail. Okay, that's James Cameron, you know, that's George Lucas, you know, that's like every single one of these chuckle fucks who have produced maybe one notable film in their entire careers and coasted off of it. You know, that's Tarantino, that's, you know, all these guys. Like, the simple fact of the matter is, these guys were replaced by C-list Marvel superheroes. You know, nobody cares about movie stars. Nobody cares about directors. Nobody cares about, like, some woke Hollywood adaptation of, like, The Odyssey. You know, all anybody wants to see is the Hulk punching things, because that's the closest thing the general public can get to like high quality cinema coming from Hollywood. Now below average anime are better than like everything the MCU shits out, you know. Like Japan in general produces way better entertainment than Hollywood ever has, but like, you know, someone like James Cameron, you know, someone like the film critic industry, you know, like the general population at large is still in complete denial about this. You know, and I do think that's like the interesting way to look at it, is that like I'm no fan of Hayao Miyazaki. You know, I hate like 95% of his work. Princess Mononoke is basically a better Avatar because it actually does have the intelligence to acknowledge that humans act the way they do for a good reason. You know, they go to great lengths to emphasize that, and to emphasize like how these are normal people going about their lives and trying to thrive in this environment. Like, you know, Princess Mononoke handles this specific man versus nature plot better than any Hollywood film I've ever seen, because it's willing to acknowledge that simple reality. The reality that nature isn't good, that nature just is, and that humanity has its place in it, and we can either make it our bitch or we can be its bitch. And obviously, nobody wants to be its bitch. And that is the simple reality that people like Cameron can't accept. You know, Cameron cannot accept that his like nihilistic, transhumanist, you know, worldview is completely and utterly delusional. You know, like it really does need to be said that Avatar just has the true reason why Avatar has no cultural relevancy is that like people don't relate to it. You know, people don't look at this and think it's real. People don't look at this and sympathize with the stupid aliens and their plight. You know, people don't think that like humans are unreasonable for coming to this planet and you know, learning more about it and you know, taking advantage of the resources that the aliens aren't capable of using anyway. You know, there's nothing wrong with that behavior, just like there was nothing wrong with European colonists coming to the Americas back you know, in the 1500s. Like that's the reality behind this film franchise, is desperately trying to hate you, is desperately trying to get you to hate heritage Americans, desperately trying to get you to hate white people, desperately trying to get you to hate America, desperately trying to get you to hate white people and humanity as a whole. Like, and that is why these films need to be rejected. It goes far beyond simply being a bad movie. Like, this shit is downright disgusting and really should be treated as such by everyone.